My wife, when they got married April 19th, 1952, we got in my aunt's car and we started driving west, and we ended up, we drove all over the West, but one night we ended up in Las Vegas. And there were three fellows out there, Eddie Barrick and Sam Zigman and Jackie Gone. And all three of these guys were from Omaha. And they'd bought little pieces of the Flamingo. Bugsy Signal had his career ended rather abruptly a few years earlier.
Bad bullet.
It was a stray bullet, undoubtedly. But in fact, there were probably 5 or 6 stray bullets. But in any event, Bugsy was gone, and some people, including 3 guys from Omaha, were in the group. Sam Zigman lived about 2 blocks from where I live now, and he was Stan Lipsey's uncle. Stan Lipsey ran, those of you who follow Berkshire, ran the Buffalo News and a partner for 40 or 50 years later on. So all kinds of things intersect, but I walked into this casino or a Flamingo. It's kind of a motel-like arrangement. And I was 21 and my bride was 19, and I looked around the room, and there were all of these people, and they were better dressed then. It was a more dignified group than perhaps currently, but they'd flown thousands of miles in some cases in planes that weren't as fast as the current ones and were more expensive probably on a per mile basis adjusted. And they'd gone to great lengths to come out to do something that was mathematically unintelligent, and they knew it was unintelligent. And I mean, they couldn't do it fast enough in terms of rolling the dice, and trying to determine whether they were hot or whatever they may be. And I looked around at that group. Everybody there knew that they were doing something that was mathematically dumb, and they'd come thousands of miles to do it. And they were, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to get rich. I mean, how can you miss? I mean, investing is laying out money now with the hope of getting back more later on. It's really laying out purchasing power now with the hope of getting more purchasing power back. But that's the reason that's the way you learn in the textbooks, that you defer consumption now so you can consume more later on so that you can take care of your family. All these things about how investment takes place. And that is what happens with farms. I mean, somebody buys a farm, and they hope to leave it to their kids, or they got it from their parents. And I mean, they don't sit there every day and get quotes 15 times a day and say, I'd like to get a call. I'd like to sell a put on the guy's farm next to me, and you can have a call on mine, and then I'll have something called a straddle or a strangle or whatever it may be. And they go about making the farm worth more money, and they do the same thing if they got an auto dealership, and they do the same thing, if they've got an apartment house, they look for improvement and attract tenants, all those kind of things. And 40 trillion at least, of the ownership of all of the American business. People treat as poker chips, or pulling the handle, and they've got systems set up so that if you want to buy a 3-day call on a stock, you can do it, and they make more money selling you calls than if you buy stocks. So they teach you about calls. Nobody's going around selling calls on farms or anything of the sort, but that's why markets do crazy things, and occasionally Berkshire gets a chance to do something, and it's not because we're smart. It's because the only thing I'd say we qualify on, and sometimes I wonder about that, but I think we're sane. I mean and that's the main requirement in this business. And anybody, Charlie?
Well, I don't think we've ever had anything quite like what we have now in terms of the volumes of pure gambling activity that go on daily, and the people lathering the gamblers up so they can rook them. And it's not pretty. And I don't find it gets any great glory for capitalism or anything. Anymore than a bunch of people throwing dice at a table. What good does that do the rest of the world?
It's a great way to become rich, though. Just figure out ways to insert yourself into the system somehow. And, jobs to some extent self-select. And many years ago, and I've got all kinds of friends in Wall Street. Not as many as I had before I had started talking this way an hour or so ago, but I really do. People make lots of decisions in life, and the truth is that overall, the American system has worked extremely well. It may be very unfair in many ways, but it has produced incredible difference in the goods and services available to me versus what my grandfather had available. I do not want to go back to pre-air conditioning and people pouring whiskey down me while they drill my teeth or something of the sort. This is a lot better world, I
think we've made more because of the crazy gambling. I think it's made it easier for us net over the decades we've been operating.
Well, we've depended on it.
Yes.
We depend on mispriced businesses through a mechanism where we're not responsible for the mispricing of them. And overall, we learned something a long time ago that doesn't take a high IQ, doesn't take anything. It just takes the right attitude.